I apologize for not uploading videos for a while. It's been a little bit busy, but wanted to definitely do a reaction card. I have been watching all the fights, just haven't had the chance to put stuff together. Even though I did have some good bet recommendations that unfortunately, because I didn't put it together, I couldn't get it. I couldn't get it out there. But wanted to definitely make a reaction for this fight. For this fight card, I thought it was pretty awesome, and I know a lot of people were kind of crapping on it and saying it's not going to be a good card. Thought it was a pretty awesome card. And to take it from the top, I'm going to take it from the top. Curtis Blaydes. Wow. I mean, I wasn't really impressed by him the first round, but that second round, as many people say, straight punches beat looping punches, including the Weasel, where I think I first heard it from. But yeah, I mean, Curtis Blaydes just doing a great job. And, people are saying that, oh, maybe he should have, the commentators are saying maybe he should have faked the takedown. But I think Curtis Blaydes has that intimidation factor where he doesn't even have to fake the takedown. You have to train for his wrestling, and then he doesn't have to use it. It's like almost like Hamzat, where you're like so scared of getting taken down by him, and then he can knock you out. And Curtis Blaydes showed the ability to do that. He looked a little bit tentative, kind of not there on the striking, but and I think that Chris Daukaus took too many looping punch risks. But I like Chris Daukaus. I actually thought he had a good chance as a giant dog, and I was wrong there. And I actually, it's unfortunate. Chris Daukaus, I think he's a solid fighter, but I really think that he should go down to light heavyweight. I think he's not a true heavyweight. I mean, even look at just like the size of his arms versus like the size of Curtis Blaydes' arms. Like his arms are about the size of a middleweight's. And look, I get it. You had people like Roy Nelson, but I think it's a new era in the UFC where you're going to have to be, especially the heavyweights are getting better. I get it at the lower end, Chris Daukaus can destroy a lot of them, but at the higher end, they're getting better and better and better. You have some really good prospects, Gane, Blaydes, Aspinall, even Pavlovich, I think is a prospect. He's I know people kind of they disrespected him because he lost to Overeem, but again, a lot of fighters had losses. I mean, Curtis Blaydes had that devastating knockout loss. Derek Lewis came back with flying colors. I know he had that kind of boring performance against Jairzinho, but I'm excited to see see Curtis Blaydes. Yeah, and I like that he called the shot. A lot of respect. I think fighters should always call their shot. Actually, that brings me to the next fight. I wish that what's her name? That Alexa Grasso would have called her shot. I think she could argue she'd get a title shot next. But that brings me to the next one. I mean, it's unfortunate. I love Joanne Wood. She's really, really nice, but she's coming off a few losses now. And she was right. I mean, she goes from like the title shot to like, I think was it 3 losses in a row. From what I remember, she had that submission where she was the favorite. She got submitted by Jennifer Maia, and Jennifer Maia got the title shot. And I know she got really dominated by, and I think maybe even finished by Talia Santos, who I think is really good. And now Alexa Grasso finishes in the first round. Actually, I was surprised that plus 700 was by sub, because I feel like, unfortunately, Joanne Wood is very vulnerable to submission. So I thought that wasn't a bad play. Honestly, I didn't really get a chance to look at a lot of the odds. If I would have looked at them, I would have jumped on more of them because I thought there was a really good opportunity to make money. Brian Barberena, I mean, again, I had him winning this fight. Him against Matt Brown, I mean, what a war. I mean, you can only expect this, and I think that with Brian, he's the younger guy. He's going to be a little more fresher in these wars. He's going to be able to kind of, less damage, so he's going to be able to kind of fight a little bit longer. I mean, I think Matt Brown may have been through, too many of those wars, although they had a great showing. Matt Brown came into tremendous shape, especially for a 41-year-old fighter. This brings me to the next fight, Askarov against Kai Kara-France. So I actually thought that this fight, I guess I'm insane, but I thought that this fight was going to be a pick'em, so that's why I didn't even look at it. But when I saw on the fight that Askar was a giant favorite, I'm like, oh my God, like I think that's insane. I mean, I think it should have been a pick'em fight. And the fact that Kai Kara is such a giant dog, if I would have known this, I would have sprinkled some money on him. But again, that's too late. You can't wave your punches after the fight. But Kai Kara-France, again, I thought this fight was super close. A lot of these fights, I wish there were draws, but the problem is I think with draws, no one gets a win bonus. But it was, I mean, by the skin of your teeth. I wish this fight would have been 5 rounds, so Kai Kara-France could have really proven that he won this fight, because I think it was really close. But I think because of the fact that it was such a close decision, I think Davidson's going to fight Moreno again. And because of that, I think if Kai Kara got a nice finish, he would have jumped the line. Sorry about that. But because of the way that this fight ended, it's going to be it's going to be, I think they're going to have to do the fourth fight, and then they're going to have Kai Kara France jump in. So, I mean, Askar Askarov, I think he wins one more, and he's right back in contention. He's really good. He almost looked vulnerable, kind of without the wrestling at first, but then, when you realize he had to strike, he didn't do a bad job. He even caught Kai Kara France a few times. And I was so impressed by this guy's flexibility, especially some of these wider guys. I mean, he's like jumping on his leg, climbing up his leg to avoid the takedown and all that stuff. I mean, insane. Awesome. I mean, those guys at City Kickboxing have been shown to be really good at getting up. The only dangerous thing is sometimes they get up with their, giving their back. And again, I think Askar Askarov is good, but he's not as much of a submission threat. But man, like what Khamzat was talking about, if you do that against Khamzat, it could be over. Against someone like Andre Muniz or someone who's like a nasty jiu-jitsu. Brings me to the next fight, Neil Magny against Max Griffin. I thought that Max won round 1 and 2, but I would argue that Neil Magny could have given him a 10-8 round, so I thought it was closer to a draw. But I didn't really agree with a lot of the judges, but, it is what it is. Good step-up competition. I feel bad. I actually feel bad for people because when I saw these odds in this one, I was like, oh, I would have grabbed Max Griffin also. But, again, I thought that it was going to be a pick-em fight, but I guess I'm crazy. But, what's his name? So Magny, he grounds out decision, but I feel bad because I've had that situation where, you bet on a big underdog and it goes to like a split decision and it loses and you feel like shit because you're like, fuck. Man, you're like, I know that feeling where you almost called it and it was a great bet, but you end up losing money on it. So it kind of sucks. So that brings me to the next fight, which is Mark Diakase against Vyacheslav Borshev. And, it's unfortunate. I thought Borshev would be able to had better takedown defense, but I think he's only going to get better for this. Great win for Mark Diakase, and I think people are like, oh, this guy got controlled by a non-grappler. But again, all these guys are really good fighters. I mean, they're good in all avenues of the sport, and I think that, Mark focused on the wrestling, so he did a really good job as a wrestler. I mean, I don't think it's any like, oh, you got embarrassed by a guy who's not even a wrestler. I don't see it that way at all. So, the next fight I was wrong on. I had Sarah McMahon, and I had Cara Rosa winning because she was younger and fresher, but should have thought about it. I remember one thing, Sarah McMahon, I think remember her on one of these UFC embeddeds. You should see her like working out on the plane ride. She's so dedicated to her fitness. That just shows how good she is, even at her older age. And I should have realized that Cara was kind of a little bit slower, and I should have thought about that. And that's kind of like the fight that kind of regret. I ended up recommending one of the bets I recommended was Carol against Sarah. So I regret doing that, but overall, it was, I did see it was just kind of like a wrestling clinic. I didn't see the Chris Gutierrez-Dana Batgarel fight, and I didn't see any of the other fights, but, I did tell a friend of mine, and I had the parlay Aliaskhab Khizriev and Manon Fiorot. I didn't watch the fights, but, looks like Aliaskhab always, really good prospect. He also looks more fitter now. And Manon had a nice win against Jennifer Maia. Oh, so what am I thinking? She should probably be having the title shot, or maybe her versus Alexa Grasso for the next title shot. So that's a fun one. And I didn't know who David Dvorak was, but I was very high on Mateus Nicolau, so I think it would have been I'm pretty sure Mateus was a pretty solid favorite, so that was probably a pretty easy bet to take. But I didn't see the fight, and it was crazy. There's a lot of big upsets, a lot of opportunities to make money, and that's why you got to be consistent. Like I didn't really pay attention too much on the odds this week, and I missed out on a lot of money. So it is what it is. You always got to be you always got to be focused and paying attention. So that's all. It looks like there were some good fights that were canceled. Michelle Waterson's against Amanda Hebus. Tucker Watts against Cho. I like Tucker Watts, so that was a fight that canceled, and also Latifi against Alexei Oleinik. I don't know what happened because I did see they weighed in. And Nate Landwehr is always fun to fight. I think he won his last fight. He's a pretty hefty underdog. Sorry guys for yawning. Actually, I actually was right after before the last fight. I did take. Sometimes I like to take some melatonin so I can kind of head to bed. But I had some melatonin. That's why I'm yawning. But I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'm definitely going to be more consistent on the videos. I apologize for the layoff. Just been a little bit busy. And thanks so much. And everyone have a great night or a good morning if you're watching this tomorrow morning. Thanks.